You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report Aftershow, brought to you by Audible.com /Opperman Report. If you want to get a free audio book, you go to Audible.com /Opperman Report, and you sign up over there, and they're going to give you a free audio book. Okay, I'm your host, Private Investigator at Opperman, and you can find us here every Friday night. Live on CJMarsRadio.com and 365 Live, and then you can find these archives on YouTube. Where can you find the archives? Ed, where can we find the archives? Where are the archives? Where are the archives, Ed? Where can we find the archives? I'll tell you where. Go to YouTube. Opperman Report or Spreaker, okay? You don't need to email me. Okay, but we've been joined with some regular callers, really cool people. Now, Mike Gray was asking some calls. We got Hijacker here as well, and we got Josh Brookshire. So, Mike Gray, why don't you hit Dave McGowan with those calls, with those questions you just had a minute ago?
Oh, hi, Dave. How are you? Yeah, quick question. The studio in the canyons, can you elaborate and talk about that? What was that studio used for? And it was like the biggest studio. It was a self-contained studio. All the production to make a movie was in that studio. Could you elaborate on what they might have done there?
It was said to be the world's only complete in-house studio that had facilities to do every aspect of filmmaking. They had an animation department, special effects department, sound stages, film vaults, everything imaginable in this place, and they employed like top Hollywood talent at times. People who were just major stars during the golden age of Hollywood, John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe, and directors like John Ford, and just these huge names. And yet they, officially, the primary purpose of the facility was to process the raw film stock from the, atomic bomb tests, which obviously doesn't jive because, all you need for that is a dark room. It could be done anywhere. You don't need to fly the film stock to some fully equipped film studio in the middle of the Hollywood Hills. What they're telling us the primary purpose of the studio was does not jive with what the facilities were actually capable of. It's something of a mystery what was really being produced at this studio and what became of those films and what their purpose of and what the audience was for these films that were produced, because they obviously weren't produced for the general public.
Correct. Yeah. You would think they've been leaked by now. Something.
You would
might
think
have
somebody
out.
would have talked, that not all of these stars would have gone to their graves without even mentioning the existence of this facility, let alone the fact that they may have done work there. It was kept very tightly under wraps.
Wait a second. Can I say something? Because when I took the Universal Studios tour back when I was like a sophomore in high school, when I went to California, I remember them saying this is the largest civilian-owned soundstage in the world. And I said to the guy driving the tram, I says, "Well, where's the biggest one? What, huh? Who owns the biggest one? What are you talking about?" And he mentioned Laurel Canyon. Okay, so that perked up my ears and it stuck in my head. And I can remember one night watching Johnny Carson, and Bob Hope came on, and he said
he was another one that was connected to Lookout Mountain.
And he said, he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm filming over in the canyon over there," and Johnny Carson says, "Oh really? Oh my goodness! Oh, very interesting." And then it was just kind of shuffled over, but it stuck in my head. I remember it.
Right.
Interesting.
It's very palatial. That studio.
I heard that there had been rumors for years that the intelligence community was operating such a facility, but it wasn't confirmed until fairly recently, actually, before its existence was confirmed and officially acknowledged. So, there's a lot of memories buried in that place. And, I mean, you could speculate endlessly about what was actually going on there.
You could see it on the internet. It was, it's very palatial. It's got a nice pool.
Oh, really?
A really, yeah, it's on the internet.
Wait a second. Yeah, I saw that. There's like a mansion there that's just
yeah.
I saw that. Well, Mike Gray sends me stuff all day long.
Yeah.
I don't have time to watch everything Mike Gray sends me.
I'm
okay?
sorry.
By the way, Mike Gray, man, Mike, give him your email address. Mike Gray is looking for pen pals, okay? And
no, I'm not.
He loves to chat with me all day long, man, about
YouTube
videos and Sandy Hook, man. He loves it. Okay, but listen, we're joined also to hang out, guys, because we're joined by Hijacker and Josh Brookshire as well. Hijacker, what do you want to add real quick?
Well, this is for Dave. How's my audio?
Great.
Okay, Dave, listen, when you step back and look at the whole mosaic of Hollywood, the actors, the interconnectivity of everyone, Zep Daniels, I don't know if you know who he is, but he does podcasts and he's an artist, but he came out of those Illuminati families. He knew a lot of the rock stars, the actors, the musicians, fairly young. And he came out of an Illuminati family, and he says at some point all of these children get ready to be introduced, preteen or teenager, into this whole occult, really says a satanic type world. But when you take a look at the whole mosaic, the interconnectivity of the Freemasons, even the financiers, the bankers, the Illuminati, the intel community, the military, how all of these different players, it doesn't matter if it's Woody Allen or James Wood or whatever, that there's 6 degrees, there's not even 6 degrees among them. And so what Zep Daniels says is, he says that really the world is set up so much stranger that people can actually, that they can't even comprehend. He says it's more like, believe it or not, it's more like Lucifer's world or John Carpenter, They Live type of world. Is that what you're getting, Dave? I mean, when you what's your world view with all the knowledge that you got, and you pulling from, pedophilia, all the different spokes, they all seem to come back in. What's your overarching view? Is the movie They Live, is that completely off base, or what's your view? Go ahead. That's all I want to ask.
I would say that my overarching view is that regardless of how dark and twisted you think the reality of this world may be, it's probably actually worse. Yeah. And Hollywood is really just, Hollywood is just an absolute cesspool. And, in my opinion, it's just completely controlled. As it logically would be, because, Hollywood has a lot of power to shape public opinion. And, to think that those voices would not be controlled would be rather naive, actually, in my opinion. And yeah, as far as, as you're saying, that just, the reality being just so far out there. I mean, that really just, what I was saying earlier, I believe we were on the air when I was talking about how these people are protected in a way by just how outrageous and just how appalling the reality really is, that it's very, very hard for people to accept. It's very, very difficult for people to wrap their head around the notion that that's how life really is in the 21st century world that we live in. But unfortunately, there's just too much evidence pointing in that direction to deny that reality.
Yeah, you know what? Because a couple of things have popped into my mind. There's pictures, and you can Google it, and you can find these pictures of Lindsay Lohan making out with her mother, Dina, at the Chateau Marmont. Yeah. Really? Yes. Look, Google Lindsay Lohan making out with Dina. Lindsay Lohan making out with Dina. Okay, and you can find this. It's all been, it's suppressed as much as it can. The pictures are out there. I know the whole story behind it. But there's also stuff.
Angelina Jolie made out with her own brother on national TV.
On the red carpet. Yeah.
one of the award shows years back, you know, at the time that her and Billy Bob Thornton were wearing vials of each other's blood around their necks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Hollywood is just a very, very weird, very creepy place that it just couldn't be any further removed than the glamorous image that, you know, a lot of people have of Hollywood and that we're supposed to have of Hollywood.
Look at these Kardashians right in front of our face. We're watching Bruce Jenner turn into a woman right in front of our face. Okay, and there's pictures of these little Jenner girls, okay, walking out of that home like prostitutes, you know. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Hear what Sean Stone said about the mother? He said in a thing that she was the one who filmed that porno or the sex between Kim and whoever. Remember there was a sex tape?
Ray J?
He claims the mother was the one who did the film, who was controlling the camera. That's what he said.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, man. Yeah, from what I know,
I think it was deliberately leaked as a marketing ploy, and I think it was the same with Paris Hilton. I mean, that's what put them both on the map. You know, I mean, before that, nobody knew or cared who they were. You know, and they have no marketable talents. You know, they're not actresses or singers or musicians or comedians or dancers or anything else.
Connected to
you know, they're famous for having done sex tapes, very high profile. You know, that was initially what put them on the map, and I think that was absolutely a deliberate marketing ploy.
They're famous for being famous, right?
Well, I tell you this, man.
Yeah.
You cannot publish a sex tape without a release. You can't sell a sex tape, man, without a release from the people in the sex tape. They don't get out otherwise. You can't peddle them. You can't. I know for a fact.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that's true. Yeah,
I know it's true, man. Okay.
Anyway, unfortunately, I got to sign off for the evening, guys. But it's been a real pleasure as always being on, and very happy that I could join in on your 1-year anniversary show.
Thank you, man. No, I'm honored. And tell us, you know, where can we get your book? Amazon.com, and any appearances coming up? What do you have coming on?
Amazon.com is, you know, the old standby. If you want a signed copy, you can get them directly from me through my website, the Center for an Informed America, which is at www.davesweb.cnchost.com, or which you can find by just Googling my name, if that's URL's a little bit too much of a mouthful for you. And I'm offering signed copies of both Weird Scenes and Program to Kill, either individually or in a money-saving combo pack. And so that would obviously be my first preference, that you come directly to me. But if not, you can always hit up good old Amazon. And then the Facebook page, as you had mentioned, that's sort of an ongoing portal where I'm putting up any information related to the book, or to any other avenues of research that I've gone down, and where I post links to my latest interviews and any personal appearances that I have coming up, and just sort of anything related to the book and to my other research. And it's also where all the photos are, both the ones that initially accompanied the series when it was a web-based series, and also a lot of new ones that I've added. So if you want the visuals to go along with the story, those are all there as well. So those are the two spots where you can find. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was pretty much wrapped up anyway. That's.
Well, I just wanted
Dave, I want to say before you get off, I appreciate your guts, and I know you're always looking for new sources, inside sources for material, and I would just encourage you to get a hold of Zep Daniels, Zeph Daniels. He's got a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and I think you two could really put together a much more fuller jigsaw puzzle by comparing notes. But thanks so much, Dave. I do appreciate your guts. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'd like to add
Thank
that Ben Fong Torres, Rolling Stone magazine. You might want to compare notes with him as well.
That name rings a bell. I know that he wrote at least one of the books that I used as a reference, and I want to say it was a biography of Graham Parsons. I don't recognize the Rolling Stone article that you're talking about, but I do recognize the name.
It wasn't a Rolling Stones article. I'm just referencing that he used to work for Rolling Stones. But on Conspiracy Planet picked up an article of his, and Ben Fong Torres of Rolling Stone magazine, but it wasn't for Rolling Stone. But basically, he listed all the people, the celebrities, the singers, who had families in the military-industrial complex. And he was wondering, like, wow, isn't this odd? Kind of thing. Like, notice all these singers have relatives in the military-industrial complex, It was just interesting.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know that he had ventured into the conspiracy realm. Yeah, I just pulled the book. Yeah, Hickory Wind is the book of his that was one of the references that I used. It's a biography, Hickory Wind, The Life and Times of Graham Parsons. And it was a very, very, very mainstream treatment. There's no, there was no indication of any kind of conspiratorial type stuff in the book. So maybe he's had an awakening of sorts since then, possibly.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Dave McGowan. Listen, my 1-year anniversary show, man, and I couldn't be more thrilled and honored to have you come on, as well as Ramsey.
For having me on for such a special occasion, and you guys have a good weekend, and keep fighting the good fight out there.
Thank you, brother. Have a good night.
See you, Dave.
Thank you.
Great show. Bye.
Oh, you know what? Hey, we're joined by Josh Brookshire and Christian Wallace. Josh, I hope your question wasn't for Dave, because he just left.
Cool, Ed. Thank you for allowing me to call in on the phone, man. Sorry about the Skype thing. I just got off work. Is William Ramsey still with us, sir?
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Oh.
Hey, William. Great show, man. I really like your research a lot. I got some more information for you about Damien Echols, my friend.
Great.
What you were describing earlier when you were talking about his tattoo and his relationship with Genesis Peorage of Throbbing Gristle and Psychic TV, it's not really a black sun. What that is, it's the chaos sphere for chaos magicians. It's basically was created by a gentleman named Peter J. Carroll, a British occultist who runs the coven called the Illuminates of Thanateros.
Okay.
William S. Burroughs.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry for speaking over you, man. You can go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm familiar with Pete Carroll and the Illuminates of Thanateros. That is, what's the guy's name? I'm just writing it down. That is, I'm totally blanking. What's the guy's name who was part of the 60s, who was a follower of Crowley? Gosh, I can't even remember his name right now. It's
notable members are William S. Burroughs was a member. Dr. Timothy D. Leary was a member of the Illuminates of Thanateros. William S. Burroughs. Oh, I already said him. Robert Anton Wilson. That was the other one as well. All of them were a member of this coven. They were chaos magicians. I don't know if you've heard Ed's interview with Cisco Streetlove about the Atlanta child killers.
I did.
His hypothesis. Oh, I'm sorry for speaking over you, man.
That's okay.
Sorry, brother.
Go for it.
But anyway, like the whole thing is to cause chaos, right? What these people do, and I know people who used to be in with the OTO and things like that. They mix and match different brands of occultism. It isn't one giant blanket for them. They view it as little tribes. And the more hardcore people like Damien Echols mix and match. The black sun is really the chaos sphere of chaos magic, which is a like OTO would be like an organized religion chaos magicians are just people that wish to use magic with a K to cause chaos and use their own will. Genesis P-Orridge learned everything he needed to know about magic from William S. Burroughs. He wrote a couple of books with a gentleman named Brian Geisen about what William S. Burroughs taught him. And as Ed has pointed out many times, William S. Burroughs was the person who taught the Beatles about the cut-up technique, which is really a magical tool to unleash the subconscious. I was wondering if you had heard any of that before. I just wanted to throw that out at you because you really, when you said Genesis P-Orridge, my antenna went up, and people who aren't really in with like underground music and like the occult would not know that name. Like,
let me throw in real quick about the Burroughs. Is that he also, guys, wrote this big giant thing about the Mayan calendar way back in the 60s, okay? So this guy's been, Burroughs is into a lot of stuff. But yeah, he was hanging around with Paul McCartney doing all the backward masking. Hey, but listen, we're joined by 818. Sit tight, okay? And so William, go ahead and answer Mr. Josh Brookshire.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for that information. I'm familiar with all of that. I know that I just didn't know the importance of it. I haven't researched a lot about Peter Carroll, but I know what Leary was about. He was about Crowley too, and I know Burroughs is rumored to have been an OTO member as well, which I think is very telling. And I think I didn't know that Burroughs taught Orridge of everything he knew. I didn't know that, but I know that I do have a picture of those two together. Burroughs and Orridge, and Burroughs seems to be of like a kind of like a cultural kind of lightning rod in a way. Like
culture vandal, yeah.
Yeah, so many people go and visit him. There's pictures of him with like Kurt Cobain, Bono. All these people go and visit Burroughs. It's really a bizarre cultural history that I don't have a lot of familiarity. I know Burroughs' cover story, but I haven't read his books. And I know that he was rumored to have been a CIA assassin and, all kinds of stuff like that. I know he had a heroin history, etc.
Well, what you have, Ed, what Ed mentioned is very pointed. There's something else that needs to be stated before I give up the space to Christian, because he needs to speak too, man. He's a good dude. William S. Burroughs, along with Allen Ginsberg, a noted pedophile, as well as William S. Burroughs, were the first two people to bring ayahuasca into the American consciousness through the cut-up papers. Not only that, William S. Burroughs is known to have killed his wife. There's that.
Yeah. What did Burroughs call ayahuasca? He had a different word for it, right? Telamine, or it was used under the cover story that it was a shamanistic plant used to grant people telepathy, but it was really ayahuasca. The other thing that ties all this together, in my opinion, and Ed, I'm sure probably already knew this, his last trilogy of novels was called The Cities of Red Dusk. It's a trilogy of novels, but the main plot centers on the Process Church of the Final Judgment.
I did not know that. No, I did not know that. But you're saying that Burroughs was a pedophile as well?
That's a huge theme in his work. He lived in Morocco for many years and wrote about how he molested young boys there and in Mexico City. When he fled from his home state after he killed his wife, he went to Mexico. Then when he wrote Naked Lunch, he was living in Algiers. There he wrote all these diary entries about using rent boys and all these things. And then in Naked Lunch, you have the whole chapter about the mugwumps, which is basically child pornography and snuff used in an allegorical manner. His own son, after he died, claimed that when they were living in Algiers, he was, quote, molested by a friend of my father's. So there's all these things about Burroughs. He is like a huge cultural touchstone, and for some reason, people don't want to address these facts when it's on the record that he shot his wife between the eyes. It's on the record that he slept with children. I just wanted to bring that up, and I'm going to give the floor to Christian Wallace, man. Sorry for hogging the air. Thank you for letting me call in. Happy one-year anniversary.
What Burroughs reference for ayahuasca? He called it Yage, Y-A-G-E.
There you go.
Hey, real quick, before Christian Wallace, we got 818. My friend, you want to ask a question real quick?
Well, actually, I don't know, because I'm really kind of interested in listening to this. I was calling into the Granada Forum. I think this is it not?
No, but you can listen in at...
Oh,
no, relax, man.
I got the wrong...
Yeah,
that's okay, but that's...
Well, listen, you can listen in online. You don't have to stand online. You can listen at cjmarsradio.com.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm very interested in this, but I do have a quick question in regards to the whole thing with the pedophilia, though, because it was mentioned, but it's like, does this? Maybe it's just me, but does this seem to be very widespread among people who exert some kind of control of other people? You see it with the elites. You see it with like royal families. It always seems to come out. The UN is very big in trafficking in it, and I'm just trying to figure out is how far does this go? You talked about William S. Burroughs being part of this as well. I mean, what is the point of it? I mean, what is the attraction to the whole pedophilia thing? I'm trying to get a handle on that part of it.
That's a good question, because even because it's when you hear about these priests, and stuff like that are raping like 300 kids. Like the average adult male doesn't have sex with 300 women their entire life, and like what is it? There's something extra beyond a sexual attraction or a sexual urge. So there's something else there going on. I don't know, but Allen Ginsberg used to come down.
I can weigh in on this.
Go ahead.
I can weigh in on this. To answer the caller, sorry, you didn't give your name, man. My name's Josh. Ed, everybody. This is Ed Opperman's Aftershow.
You can call me Nick. That's good.
All right, Nick, man. What it basically goes down to is the people that follow the occult arts believe there's power in psychic energy. As you grow up, what we would say children would lose their imaginations. People that are in left-hand path, occultic groups believe that children lose their psychic energy. If you've read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where Hunter S. Thompson speaks about adrenochrome, that's basically what he's talking about, is that the sacrifice of a child releases far more energy into what they call the newest sphere, which is basically like the chaos sphere I was speaking to earlier. It's what they believe is an invisible realm that gives energy to certain people, illuminates, initiates to the mystery religion of Babylon, basically.
Right.
So that's what it is. That's why, with what you're saying, the elites, and Ed said about the priests, it goes to the royal families as well, because they have inherited this information through superstition of their predecessors. And I'm sorry, man, for taking over the mic again, bro.
No, that's fine. I mean, this is something I had heard, what you were just saying. This is something that I heard that David Icke had touched on in the same vein, but I had never really looked into it much further than that. So,
you'll be surprised when
they sound like vampires. Yeah, I mean, they sound like vampires to me, so.
Yeah, real quick, man, I'm really, really disappointed in David Icke lately, okay, man, because he's promoting some stuff that I know is 100% bogus, BS, crap, hoax stuff, and I'm contacting him saying, hey, man, this is crap, this is hoax, and he's still doing it.
What is it?
Which one? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
He's promoting some information that's total BS and that's a hoax that I even showed him the links. Okay, we can talk about it off the air because it involves one of the things I'm sensitive about talking about.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. I know.
No, I mean, but I was just going to say, I mean, as far as this whole pedophilia thing, though, that was something he touched on. I mean, you're going to be bent at him for anything else. That's fine, but. But you look at the guy that just got busted in England, or just after he died, that talk show host guy.
Jimmy Savile.
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 Yeah,
Savile. I mean, and then they that's just like the tip of the iceberg of things that are going on. And then there was Ted Gunderson with what he came up with, and he got of course, he mysteriously died as well. So, I mean, this is something that goes pretty far and pretty deep into for a lot of people who are in positions of power.
Yeah,
Can I ask a quick question?
Well, no, but you should go back and listen to some of my old shows with Jim Rothstein and the old shows with William Ramsey and Dave McGowan and stuff like that. And we get into all of that, all that stuff and some in-depth stuff. I knew Gunderson, and we even earlier tonight we talked about some stuff with Gunderson as well.
Right.
Yeah, check out the Opperman Report YouTube channel.
Yeah, okay, I'll have to check that out. I hadn't heard of it before, but okay. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Thanks for talking to me, guys, and have a good rest of the show.
Well, 818, man, CJMarsRadio.com. We're still live, and there's a chat room over there, too, okay?
All right, have a good one.
Okay, bro.
Mr. Henry?
Mr. Henry?
Ramsey?
Ramsey?
Yeah, Ramsey. I'm sorry. William Ramsey.
Good.
Mr. Ramsey. Still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, quick. Regarding the rumor that Barbara Bush is the illegitimate daughter of Crowley, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's basically rumored she was the offspring of him. Her mother was in Paris around the time he was in Paris in the Roaring 20s, and her mother came back pregnant, and supposedly she is the offspring of Crowley. He was known to have not had problems siring children at all, and she looks a lot like him and acts like him.
Yeah.
So, it's almost implausible to verify it, but he was known to have a very large head and kind of thin shoulders, and he would try to make his neck look bigger by wearing kind of scarves, and she kind of looks the same way. She has a very sizable head, so it's hard. It's nothing that I can verify, but all the similarities are there. Her thought processes are very similar to Crowley. And then you have her son, George W. Bush, as the president during 9/11, which is just loaded with, Crowleyism / Illuminati occult meaning,
Do you feel, I saw a documentary on Crowley towards the end of his life. He had a child, very young. And they said
some woman came to him. His last name was McAlpine. And he named the child Ataturk, and most of his children kind of changed their names and denied they were ever related to him. He had 5 kids. I think he had a total of 5 children. Yeah, by different wives.
But do you think towards the end of his life he changed his mind and became loving, or no?
That's what I mean. I think he was kind of he was dedicated all the way to the end. He said that most of his life, like his name. Perdurabo was like, I will survive to the end. That was his magical name. And people who had met with Crowley at the very end said he still had magical books and that he was still nasty. And one of his followers in the OTO, whose name I can't remember right now, but he visited Crowley in London and said he was still the same person. He was still dedicated to his craft.
William, sir, also, Marjorie Cameron was in Paris. She was scheduled to be his last appointment that he scheduled right before he died, but she went on, let's say, a lost weekend, or to be polite, over the radio, but she was in Paris when she heard that he died, and she missed her last appointment, excuse me. Everyone here, I'm sure, knows who Marjorie Cameron and the relationship with Jack Parsons, Kenneth Anger, etc. Correct?
I do.
And everyone knows that Bobby Beausoleil from the Love, he played with Arthur Lee from Love, little kickback to Dave McGowan of Laurel Canyon. And also Bobby Beausoleil played in an 11-piece band called the Magical Band in L.A., right before he joined the Manson family, but he recorded, obviously, everyone knows the Lucifer Rising soundtrack from Prison, which has a bunch of synthesizer, multiple layers of drum and guitar. How did he get all these, recording equipment into, a 1960s prison to release the soundtrack for an art film made by a Satanist? Come on, are you telling me that's not connected? I mean, obvious,
Well, it's actually more than that. He was in, he was in Northern California and lived with Kenneth Anger in a kind of a famous house there called the Russian Embassy, which is very close to the Haight. And he had a band up there called the Magical Orchestra, spelled with a K.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's pictures of him online. You can see him you can see Bouzoulet in front of the top hat, with a top hat in front of the Russian embassy, sitting on the steps. And apparently that kind of dress style was adopted by Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones. The top hat and the kind of
Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Anita Pallenberg were originally scheduled to appear as Lucifer, Set, and Lilith, if I remember respectively, in the original cut of Lucifer Rising. And then Bobby Beausoleil stole that footage, drove out to Death Valley, and buried it. So it's interesting. Kenneth Anger is still alive today. He had first-person contact with the man who committed basically what most people would say was the first Manson murder, the murder of Gary Hinman, and also with Mark David Chapman, who gave him a bullet. Two major forces connected with music, the occult, and murder right there.
Yeah,
and Kenneth Anger's still walking around. Sorry, you go ahead, William.
I was just going to add to that. Once the Manson murders, happened, Anger left the United States and went to Europe and stayed in England. So he basically left the country. It was too hot.
Where is he now?
L.A., somewhere in West Hollywood.
Really?
Yep. He actually did. There's an interesting conversation he had about Crowley and his relationship to the Gettys. It's a Hammer Museum. The Hammer Museum is located on Wilshire, kind of next to UCLA. If you kind of Google Hammer, Kenneth Anger, it's pretty interesting. He admits everything about Crowley and his relationship to very wealthy people. He basically had carte blanche with one of the Getty sons. There's two big Getty museums here in LA that have like $1 billion in funding, trust fund that they draw from. But he basically was able to fly all over the world on the Getty credit card.
Really?
Yep. And Getty was known, when the sons was known, he did all kinds of ritual stuff too, like get in caskets and, have rebirthing ceremonies and all this other stuff, mumbo jumbo.
Hey, Christian Wallace, you got any questions?
Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Well, I came on late, but I haven't talked to William since the last time. I think he was on. You were doing West Memphis 3, right?
Yeah.
Oh, one of the things, I'll just add this one real quick, was there's a song called Peace Frog from The Doors.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Oh, you were?
Yep.
Song?
About 20 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, actually.
Oh, wow, that's weird. I just pulled this out, I was going to say that the lyrics are,
blood on the streets in the town of New Haven. Blood stains the roots in the palm trees of Venice.
Yeah,
and the terrible summer. Yeah, I'd actually posted it into the Skype chat.
Oh, really?
Bloody Red Sun of Fantastic LA. If you scroll, what time is that at? Just scroll up the chat to 7:04 p.m.
That's so weird, because I was just looking it up to find wow. So the other thing was the Newtown, and then there's a movie that came out, The World's End, that was on the other day, and it's Newtown Haven that they go to.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
That is strange.
Mm-hmm. And Morrison was a big Crowley fan.
That's what I was asking Dave McGowan about, because he had written in his book, I don't know if he could recollect it entirely what the connection was, but yeah, Morrison knew a lot about Crowley. Morrison knew a lot about witchcraft. His wife was a witch, and a lot of his, you can call it Twilight language or some other language, but he basically referenced all kinds of occult stuff in his life. He was a blood drinker too, just like Crowley and a lot of these other nut jobs.
Right. And the Barbara Bush, I actually met them when I was real young, they're really creepy in person, and they both have this condition with their eyes.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
That the one eye is sort of bigger than the other one. I got to look up what it is, but I'll listen for a minute and then I'll add some of the stuff. Because like I said, I'm just sort of catching up. But you guys continue. You're on a good.
Interesting how this song mentions the town of New Haven.
Yeah, well, the Venice was supposed to be the headquarters of the Process Church. And
really?
Interestingly, Kenneth Anger held one of Crowley's rituals in Venice like 2 or 3 years ago. And they actually did like a movie of it called Love in the Old Days. Total ritualistic, just crazy stuff. Hey, Ed, have you watched the show True Detective yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, we were talking about it last time, and I watched as much as I could, and then they kind of like knocked it off at episode number 6. So it took me like a month to get the rest of the episodes, but I saw the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it basically covers all the themes we were talking about, like pedophilia, cultism, intergenerational families that do that stuff. I mean, and there are actually Crowley references in there. There's Masonic references. I mean, and it basically, I mean, at the very end, the guy Rustin Cole's last words is, "We didn't get all of them,"
Yeah.
And then the other guy says, "Yeah, that's just the way the world works." That was it. They just admitted that they only got a couple of the people.
Yeah, and who's in there? Good old Woody Harrelson, man. Seems to be in everything, got his hands in everything, man. He
was the executive producer, and there's actually, there's more to that story too. The guy who wrote its name was Pilizzato, or I can't remember his full name, but he was accused of plagiarism of this other guy named Ligotti. And the guy Ligotti, he actually wrote this book that he's accused of plagiarizing. Guy's Thomas Ligotti. The book he's accused of plagiarizing is called, what is it? It's not The Shadow at the Bottom of the World. It's, what is this one? Oh, now I can't even remember the name of the book. But basically it was a supposed book. Well, it's interesting because Ligotti is this big-time writer, but what does Ligotti do on his pastime? He plays for a band called something 93. It's
Current 93?
Yeah, he plays for that band. So he's got this total straight-up Crowley connection.
That's interesting because Current 93 was actually a project with the avowed Satanist at the time, Boyd Rice. I don't know if anyone knows who Boyd Rice is.
The name's familiar, yeah.
88. Everyone knows 88 is Heil Hitler. San Francisco rally to free Charles Manson, along with Zena LaVey, Anton LaVey's daughter, and Nicholas Schreck, who wrote Charles Manson, Myth and Reality of the Outlaw Shaman. So during the 80s, there was this big coven, and that was when Current 93 was formed. Very good eye. I didn't know Ligotti's connection to that.
Yeah, Ligotti wrote the book is called. Yeah, the book is called The Conspiracy Against the Human Race, and the guy, I'm almost positive that Pizzolatto didn't. He actually did a more clever kind of form of plagiarism where he paraphrased it instead of copying stuff. But if you watch the first 2 episodes of True Detective, you see the philosophy of Matthew McConaughey's character, and it's basically the same one as this guy Ligotti. And it says here, just right here, I'm on Wikipedia. It says Ligotti collaborated with the musical group Current 93 on the albums Foreign Town, Foreign Land, 1997, another album in 2000, 2001, and 2003, all released on David Tibet's Dirto label. And David Tibet is the worldwide head of Crowley's OTO.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's even apparently he also quoted this guy, Pizzolatto quoted Moore, like another kind of magician, Crowley-esque type figure in the kind of one of the last episodes. And so there's really is an undercurrent of this kind of Crowley connection and this whole thing throughout that whole True Detective that a lot of people have not emphasized.
It's a good show. I wanted to bring something up about West Memphis that you guys mentioned at the start of the show, just as a reference, but I want to fill in the reference. Is that okay for 1 second?
Please.
Everyone says Henry Rollins, right? And I bet a lot of people in the listenership say how is Henry Rollins connected to all this? People forget that Henry Rollins is actually from Washington, D.C. His parents are military insiders. He was initially in a band called State of Alert, which was the second release on Ian MacKaye of Fugazi and Minor Threat's Discord record label. So his band wasn't going anywhere. Black Flag rolls into town, and this guy quits his band to join a band from the other side of the country, from Los Angeles, to sing other people's songs, right? So you got a guy with military connections, and he goes on the road with this band. You guys all know that Henry Rollins is also known as a spoken word artist, author, and everything, correct?
Yes.
Okay, his most famous book is called Get in the Van. It's basically his story of joining Black Flag and what it was like as a so-called DIY punk band. Chuck Dukowski, the original bass player of Black Flag, initiated him into the music of the Doors, the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche and Arthur Schopenhauer, the famed nihilists of the 1800s, and notably turned this previously clean-cut kid, he says, onto acid and psychedelic drugs. Near the end of the book, and I read this, the first time I read this, it really struck me, and anytime someone talks about Henry Rollins, it comes back to me. It's a diary entry where he talks about going into a city to play a show with his band, and he picks up a newspaper, and there's an article about a teen who went behind a Kmart and stuck a shotgun in his mouth and blew his brains out, right? And he writes about how he wanted to go to the scene and feel the energy of, like, this person's despair, and he went there, and he said there was still a fragment of this young kid's skull laying against the wall, and he picked it up, and he's kept it in his pocket ever since. Wow. And that's in his book. You know what I'm saying? So people want to say Henry Rollins is this punk icon, and now all of a sudden he's in movies, he's in Bad Boys, he's in that Michael Mann film Heat. He's had his own TV shows that he's hosted for periodically, and he's presented to us much like the 60s people were as the epitome of the hippie. He's supposed to be the epitome of the hardcore punk rock scene in the 80s. So do you guys understand where I'm coming from? The yes. Human element and the military element. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just wanted to get that out there because people don't understand why Henry Rollins would be into that sort of thing. And there's your connection right there, in my opinion.
No, it's interesting. You know, the thing is like, since I've been researching the West Memphis Three, when I first came across the whole case, I really just focused on the case itself and the three actors, but there's so much more to the story. I didn't know much about Johnny Depp's background. I didn't know much about Henry Rollins or some of these other people, you know, and then I had to research them to understand their attraction and association with the case. And he's just another one that the more I hear, it's worse and worse. You know, I just came across him with the black sun on his back and, you know, some of his writing. And now that I know he was into Nietzsche and Schopenhauer, that's very telling as well. There was Hitler's favorite philosophers. I mean, Hitler read Schopenhauer in World War I while he was in the trenches.
Continuing on with Henry Rollins, I forgot this as well. This is a big story in the late 80s, the later half of the 80s, right before, or actually I think it was right after he left Black Flag to form Rollins Band. Him and his friend, who was the driver of Black Flag, a young gentleman named Joe Cole, who's in the Sonic Youth video for Goo. And they were walking in Huntington Beach area in Los Angeles, and Joe Cole was shot dead. Henry Rollins left untouched. Afterwards, Sonic Youth wrote the song 100%, a video with noted Scientologist, the guy from My Name is Earl, this is Lewis, Jason, you know, the guy from My Name is Earl, and
he's a Scientologist, Josh.
What's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. He used to be a skateboarder back in the day.
He was a skateboarder.
He's in Mallrats and those Kevin Smith movies. Jason, it's not Jason. Is it Jason Lewis? the main guy from My Name Is Earl, the dude with the mustache.
What's his name? And he was in Vanilla Sky too.
I can't remember his name, but he's in the music video that is the song about Henry Rollins' friend getting shot dead right in front of him. So there's all these connections, and obviously Scientology connects back to the Process Church. Mm-hmm. So Christian, man, you go ahead, brother. You haven't been on the mic. Sorry for hogging it, guys.
No, you're putting out good stuff. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think they did the Blood Sugar Sex Magic. They all do. I think. For some reason, I thought of 311. I know they have one of them has a tattoo that says "Do as Thou Wilt" on their leg. I'm trying to think. They pop up in movies and films all the time together. Coming from a punk background myself, we didn't like Henry Rollins all too much, but I remember his peak in the 90s, and then I saw him getting all these TV shows. It started, then he spread out to this spoken word stuff, and I was like, who is this? This guy's an idiot. Why does anyone care what he has to say about anything? And he sure as hell couldn't sing. But, his credibility and his background is certainly dubious, but all the connections with the actors, I was going to go over and list because people should make a note of it. It's Jack Black, Winona Ryder, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was at the White House before the movie came out on Halloween in full makeup with Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter as his character from the Alice in Wonderland movie, the Mad Hatter, and they didn't cover it. It wasn't big news. And
Ozzy Osbourne went to the White House too. And you know
Jason Lee was the name that I forgot.
You know who took Ozzy Osbourne to the White House? Greta Van Susteren, whose husband's the attorney for the Church of Scientology. Okay, and took him to the Bush White House.
And he gave him a present, I think, cufflinks or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bush notably said to Ozzy Osbourne, "My mom loves your stuff."
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, we got a break coming up, man, guys. We're on with William Ramsey, the author of great books, man. William Ramsey's a great guy, man. A great YouTube channel. Hey, William, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
I'm saying it's Occult Investigations. You can see some stuff about the West Memphis Three on there. I'm just kind of working on it, kind of piecemeal.
Yeah, his YouTube stuff is incredible, okay? But he's the author of Abomination, Devil Worship, and Deception in the West Memphis Three Murder, Aleister Crowley, A Visual Study on Prophet of Evil, Aleister Crowley, 9/11, and the New World Order. And we're on with some frequent callers, too, as well. Joshua Brookshire, who's the one of the musicians here. Josh, you got any gigs coming up? Josh, wake up.
Sorry, man. I was on mute, man, just to give you your space. Yeah, my band's playing the Illuminated Paths record release show. It's actually a guy I'm trying to get this. I'm going to talk to him about sponsoring your show.
Oh, good.
It's a Florida-based record label that's run by a filmmaker that's called Broken Machines Films. But we're playing the showcase in Asheville, North Carolina on the 19th of October. And after that, we are going up to Washington, D.C. and playing a show at a record store with like 6 other bands. It'll be good. If anyone's in Washington, D.C. in November, come and see me. Actually, man, I wanted to break a little bit of news since it's on the Aftershow and it's a little bit private. I'm working on a soundtrack for your old guest, Thomas Sheridan.
Oh, great.
He's making a documentary film, and I'm working on a soundtrack for him right now. I'm in the midst of recording it for him.
That's great. What's the subject?
The subject is it's called From Prussia with Blood. It's going to be about the history of the Prussian Germanic royalty and how it spread throughout Europe and left its cultural dark traits upon the world, you know?
That sounds great.
Because everybody knows that the House of England are really Germans, you know? All those kings and queens over there basically come from the same old families. So I'm thinking of like The Shining meets like a dark like Joy Division or something like that. It's going to be a cool soundtrack, man. Thank you for letting me give a shout out, Ed, man. Thank you for having me on your show. Happy anniversary to the Opperman Report, brother.
Thank you very much. Happy anniversary. Yeah. Hey, so don't forget, we're sponsored by Audible.com. You go to audible.com/Opperman Report, and you can get a free audio book. What's better than free? All you got to do is sign up and all that kind of stuff like that. And we're going to take a little musical break. If Cindy's ready to go, she's always cool, always ready to go. And we'll do that. We'll take a little break, and we'll get right back after that. Cindy, you ready to go? I love you, Cindy. Okay, we got a caller coming into 714. Hey, 714, what's up?
Well, I just wanted to tune in and see how the conversation's going, basically, and maybe I'll put in my 2 words.
Okay, you can listen on cjmarsradio.com. Do you know that?
I don't have the internet.
Oh, okay, then sit tight and you can listen in for a little while. So, Cindy, we're playing music now? Welcome back to the Opperman Report After Show, brought to you by Audible.com/Opperman Report. Audible.com, where you can go and you put in our little Opperman Report extension there, and you can get a free audio book. You can't beat that. It's free, okay? And it helps support the station, okay? And don't forget all our other sponsors, Pacific West Bamboo, 503-839-8126, InfinityHomeplans.com, good old Mike Ray, you heard him tonight. He's looking for pen pals. Check out InfinityHomeplans.com, your resource for 3D and 2D draftsman services. And the New World Mexican Women with their beautiful book. We need to support these women. And don't forget, emailrevealer.com. Whatever you need, you give us a call. You're in trouble. You got in the jackpot there. You're sitting in jail. Give us a call. Okay, we can help you out. Cell phone forensics, computer forensics. We can recover deleted text messages, deleted emails, deleted pictures. Prepare a report for you for court. We can trace emails back to where they were sent from, and I locate and identify people, cyberstalkers, all kinds of fun, nifty stuff we can do for you. Get a hold of us there. And hey, you want to know where the archives are? Hey, is it Monday morning and I'm waking up and everybody wants to know where are the archives? Where can we listen to the archives? You can find out right now. Go to Opperman Report at YouTube.com. Go to YouTube, look up Opperman Report, and subscribe right now. Okay, so that Monday morning, I'm not waking up to bleep, 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 500 different email messages. Everybody wants to know where to listen to the archives, where to find the archives, where to listen to the archives. Are the archives up yet? What about the after show? All that kind of stuff, guys. I love you. But if you want to know where that stuff is, go to Opperman Report YouTube channel or Spreaker.com, and you can find it there. Okay, now we are online. You guys can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, Ed.
Oh, okay, good. I saw something in the chat room. Maybe I thought you guys can hear me. Okay, so now we got William Ramsey with us here for a little while longer, man. So let's hit him up here with all our questions and whatever we can get from him. Who wants to go first?
William, I'm sorry for stepping over you, Chris, man. You should go ahead first, man.
No, that's right. I was just going to bring up the Hollywood connections, but go ahead, Josh, while it's fresh in your mind. Go ahead. Because I got mine. I know what I'm going to say.
Well, what I was thinking about is on the previous interview, actually, I listened to it the other day, and you brought up the architect of the World Trade Center. I was wondering if the person that you were referring to was Paul LaFollette.
Yes.
The noted artist. All right, cool. I found out about his art a long time before I even got into, like, the conspiracy scene, or, like, whatever you want to call it. And his stuff is very, very charged. You know what I'm talking about as a fellow, like I was saying while we were off air, like you and me, man, we're the know your enemy types and all these things. You got to investigate and know what you're up against, you know, and you have to investigate the ideology of the other that you're fighting against. He's a very important person, very downplayed, a very low-key person. His artwork is extremely potent, magical stuff like you were referring to. I just wanted to clarify that he was who you were speaking to. You said yes. He's still alive, isn't he, as far as I know, right?
Yes, still alive. And, yeah, all his stuff is magical. And he has actually said he's had contact with other worldly entities. I forgot the name of the one that he spoke with.
It goes back. So I think I don't want to dislike any other publications, but that disinformation thing totally supports William S. Burroughs, Brian Geisen, Genesis Fjords, Boyd Rice, all these names that I've been dropping, and all these things. They're the number one place you want to go to read about it. There was a good book.
Because they're advocates for it. That disinformation is full on hardcore occultists.
Yeah. It's Richard Metzger, wasn't he? San Francisco based. He was down with all those cats too, if I remember correctly, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then also going with what I was saying earlier about chaos magic and tying back to the Process Church, are you aware that the guy that goes by the name of Lucian Greaves or whatever from that current supposed satanic temple that did the gay mass over the guy from the Westboro Baptist wife's grave and wants to put the Baphomet statue outside of Oklahoma City and all these things? Did you know that guy is actually a member of the Process? He blogs for the Process's, the part that isn't dark web on their official website. And he's connected with the Cult Awareness Network. He shares a lot of their stuff. I was wondering if you had any information further on that, sir.
I didn't, but that's good to know. I didn't know that he was Process connected, but the CAN, the Cult Awareness Network, was basically destroyed by Scientology and carved out and hollowed out, and then they run it now.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that the Church of Scientology, they were doing black bag jobs on the IRS, on local, investigators and stuff like that.
Yeah. I heard that they had their own intelligence arm, and they still do. They were a little more feral under L. Ron Hubbard, but they had all kinds of stuff. I mean, if you want to hear an interesting analysis of L. Ron Hubbard, it's actually from an unexpected source. It's from the guy who knew a lot about the JFK killing, the guy who was Mr. X. What was his name?
Deep Throat?
Fletcher Prouty.
Oh.
What is it?
Fletcher Prouty.
Yeah, Fletcher Prouty had a very good analysis of L. Ron Hubbard and showed that he had intelligence connections from the very beginning, and he ran his whole thing like an intelligence agency. Yeah, Fletcher Prouty on L. Ron Hubbard. If you Google that, it's very interesting. It's worth a listen.
William, can I ask a real quick personal question, man?
Sure.
Like I was saying, both of us as investigators and fighters against the dark and all this BS and all this stuff, man. Do you ever feel psychic attacks, not just internet trolls, but things against you? You know what I'm saying on a spiritual side, brother?
Yeah, I prefer not to comment on that publicly.
All right, I understand, man. I'm down, brother. I feel you, man.
Well, I would say that, that I deal with that stuff all the time, and I would really appreciate everybody's prayers to keep us in prayer and stuff like that. Especially with the, I get involved in situations. I don't know how I do, but I just get involved in situations. But in one particular situation I'm involved in, it seems that the other side is able to lie and get everybody to fall for their lies, and also to get other people to lie for them, and it seems to be a real spiritual attack that I believe is rooted in blood sacrifice.
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, it's something else. There's a lot of stuff going on out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure, man. And yeah.
Yeah, what you can speak to, both you guys, is how people that fluff this stuff off and think that it's all like a conspiracy and everything. They're a tight knit group that is very well connected, well funded, and they have an agenda, and they're pushing it, and they have their tentacles into all kinds of areas that people wouldn't believe. Affecting, the culture, spying on people. Scientology had a list of celebrities they wanted to go after for that specific purpose. they wanted to get Walt Disney in there. And, and
that was the whole goal of their celebrity center in LA was to lure and attract those people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they still have the celebrity center.
And it's almost like different rules apply to the celebrities. They get audited, and not tax audited, but they do those. That it's basically like a kind of a lie detector, and they keep detailed files on them, and they have little pinhole cameras watching when they basically sit in a room and somebody asks them all the innermost secrets of their lives, and everything from sexual stuff to just stuff that you wouldn't that maybe you'd tell a therapist or just as confidant, and it's all recorded, and they really utilize hypnosis techniques and lie detection, and they pretty much then have all this dirt on these people. They're totally compromised, and whether these celebrities are pouring money into Scientology or whatever else it is, they have this huge sphere of influence, and that's what I think is the most important thing, is to kind of pull the rug out or throw a wet blanket on that you know what I'm saying, the reach that Hollywood has. If people really saw and what people don't see is when they write these movies, people always see the actors and they'll see their connections sometimes from the films they pop up in. But it's also the people that write and direct them behind the scenes that you don't see connected to each other. And if you saw what a small kind of group it was, and who knew who, and then they have their inner circles within inner circles, I think it would be a lot more clear.
I totally agree with you. I mean, it's amazing how many of these guys work together, who's producing it, who's writing it. Like Bruckheimer has done so much with a whole bunch of other stuff. And if you watch any of his intro to his movies, Simpson and Bruckheimer, there's always that tree that's getting struck by lightning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that is a satanic symbol. It's the opposite of the tree of life. It means that the devil basically is, the author of knowledge, author of good and evil. That's the whole symbolic quality. Go watch all his movies. It's all there. Simpson, he was teamed up with Simpson, who was a piece of work. He died of a drug overdose.
Don Simpson?
Yeah. Did you ever hear about Don Simpson?
Oh, yeah, man. I got some Don Simpson stories for you.
Have you heard his whole thing? He used to, his stories alone, I cannot repeat them.
Yeah, the Heidi Fleiss girls, man. He was a sadist. But you know that he has an O.J. Simpson connection, okay?
Really?
Because there was a death. He had a party at his house. There was an overdose at his house, and he called up Anthony Pellicano. This is all open. Everybody knows this. Anthony Pellicano went there and cleaned up the crime scene, okay, before the cops came. And Anthony Pellicano called the cops. And who showed up to the first responder to that crime scene, this overdose? Mark Fuhrman.
Wow.
So Anthony Pellicano, he didn't call 911. He called Mark Fuhrman, because you don't call 911. Mark Fuhrman shows up, a Shulkover show up. So yeah, that's Don Simpson. You're right, man. There's a ton of stuff with him.
Oh God, he's a piece of work. And so then you have this Bruckheimer to Depp to all kinds of shows. What is it, 24? Go watch the intro to 24, the first episode of 24. It's incredible. There's 12 11s right in a row within the first 5 minutes. It's off the charts. I think it was season 2 or season 1. I mean, they lace all their stuff with all kinds of occult insignia. It's
William
amazing.
Ramsey, man, because you're the September 11th expert with the World Trade Towers. Hey, by the way, who has the kid in the background?
That's me. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry. Okay, but the thing is are you familiar with the case of the apartment bombings in Russia that happened in September?
Yeah, it was totally a total fakes.
Yeah,
it was trying to go to war, right?
Well, that got Putin elected because he blamed it on the Chechens, but then he got totally busted because there was another one that didn't go off, and it was all the KGB was doing it. And then when September 11th, when September 11, 2001 happened with Bush, and Bush killed all those people, Putin called Bush, and the first thing he said was, "I understand exactly how you feel."
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to do a show about that.
That's incredible. Well, there's actually a really good, if you want to read about a false flag terror that went wrong, is a bombing of a guy out of Texas that was supposed to take place.
I think we lost you.
Sorry, hold on, I'm still here. There was a bombing that was supposed to take place in the south of Philippines where the Muslims are, and a guy got caught with, he was an FBI agent or something.
Yeah.
And he blew off his own arm, his bomb went off, and he was brought back to the U.S. and he disappeared in Texas. Like his name changed and nobody can track him down. Did you ever hear about that?
If it's the one I'm thinking of, because before September 11, 2001 happened, there was a whole big thing, like you said, about the Philippines, where they had a big plan. They were going to bomb all the tunnels in New York City, and they were going to hijack planes and fly them into the buildings. And right. I remember this.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
There was an American false flag attempted terror that did not go off. I'll try to dig it up for you. It's kind of, it went into the kind of dustbin of web history, but I'll see if I can find it. But I think Paul Thompson wrote about it in his 9/11 terror timeline. Paul Thompson's very legit, Stanford grad. That's not his real name, but I know what he was doing with that timeline. He was laying a foundation of information.
Well, let's do a show on that too, man, because the first 9/11, but the first World Trade Center bombings, all those guys, it was a small group of guys in New York City. Everybody knew them because they were at all the protests, and they were involved in killing Myra Kahana. They were involved in machine gunning that bus full of yeshiva kids.
Right.
You know, and then suddenly they're involved in bombing the World Trade Center. You know, cab drivers and stuff like that. These were guys that had to be known.
Yeah, they all were new. There's pictures of them like with Myra Kahana, who was a piece of work, but yeah. That whole thing was a fraud too, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, we got to do a show about that too, man. The whole first 9/11 bombing and the killing of Myra Kahana and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Look, guys, I got to run. Thanks so much, Ed. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
William Ramsey, thank you so much, man.
Happy anniversary, man. Way to go. Great first year.
Thank you, bro, man.
Thank you for the great conversation, man. God bless you, brother.
Yeah.
Stay strong.
All right. Take care.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Hopefully, 10 years from now, man, we'll still have William Ramsey coming on the show, and Dave McGowan.
You too, Ed, man. God bless you too, and Chris, man.
Yeah.
You too. That was really good. Man. Good info. I didn't know that with your band. That's awesome news.
Oh yeah, man. I'm always creating things anyway. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, let's make like a soundtrack. Like I just have this like crazy idea because the subject is so interesting to me. But either way, Ed, man, this show I think is probably one of the better things.
Yeah.
So much information has gotten out about the celebrities. Thank you for letting me say the things that I needed to say about Henry Rollins, man, because you know what I'm saying? I like some of the Black Flag stuff, but like Derek Morris or any of those other dudes like before Henry Rollins were a way better frontman anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it needed to come out basically about his involvement.
Yeah, he's a phony.
Yeah,
he is a phony.
In the punk rock world, you know, you lose your credibility so fast when he's such a poser. But
yeah. Man, what about what he wrote about like Robin Williams, like after he died? Like I can't respect anyone who died by suicide, yet so many people in the 80s punk rock scene killed themselves. Kurt Cobain supposedly killed himself, you know, and you're just gonna like say all this stuff and then immediately take it back. That's not punk rock, it's a PR move.
Right.
Like he's as phony as it comes.
Mm-hmm. What's his name from Pennywise? Yeah, the bassist.
The guy they wrote Broham about.
Right. Yeah. And they were trying to like, you know, someone was trying to put the picture out and they were trying to see. It's just it's so sordid. It's really when you start to dig, it's a shame because you know, you want to tune out and try to, you know, entertain yourself with good music and you try not to listen to this mainstream crap because you know that it's all prepackaged, and then you look for like alternative things or independent films, and then you just see this thread of these different people, you know, and how it's still all connected. But it's too bad William jumped off, because I was going to say that I think with Bruckheimer and the other guy, the producers,
Simpson. Yeah, Tom Simpson.
yeah, they what they did was Days of Thunder, and they also, I think, did with Tom Cruise, and they also did you know, the one he's famous for, Top Gun.
Yeah.
And the guy that directed it, Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, he committed Masonic apoplexy by throwing himself off the bridge, and no one knew why.
Oh, I had no idea about that.
Just pulled over on the side of the road, and this was right after Prometheus, the movie, came out. His brother, Ridley Scott, and him were collaborating on a new series, so he had stuff to look forward to. He was a celebrated director. His brother was, you know, super famous. He had done the movie Man on Fire with Dakota Fanning and
Denzel Washington was involved in everything too, man. Forget it.
Yeah. No, I'm saying he definitely is an insider with that, and so is his brother. But I mean, he did this weird thing. He pulls up on the I think it was, you know, that bridge in it was, I think, in San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
It just pulls over to the side of the road and climbs up, you know, calm as can be, and just throws himself off. If it wasn't there, you know, he did something similar. He just, you know, and people saw him, so, you know, there wasn't nobody. They didn't report anybody throwing him or pushing him. No one chased him. He calmly, you know, got out of his car, and then I think to try to justify it, they said he got news that he had some kind of cancer that day. But no suicide note.
There's a scene in a movie, and I believe Quentin Tarantino is involved in it, where they're talking about all the homosexual overtones in Top Gun.
Right, that's why, because he did his movie. Tony Scott did True Romance, which is Tarantino's, and he spoke about him afterwards. But yeah, that's what Tarantino was. He said it's all about subversion on a massive scale, and he was absolutely right. That's what that movie was. They go to the Navy and the military to fund the movies, like what's his name that does the big Transformer movies, Michael Bay. That's why they have so much military support to make those movies. Just basically, you can go to either big companies and, you know, you have to do horrible product placement, or you can get the Navy to, and they basically did. Now it's been known, it's been sort of like an open secret. You know, they used to have the Village People do the Navy commercials, and there's always been sort of a gay undertone to the Navy.
Yeah,
it's in recruitment. So
Roland Emmerich, Independence Day as well. All the Hornet, the fighter jet shots. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't. Yeah. I mean, that when you think about it like this, just one of these scripts, all this money goes into making one of these movies, millions and millions of dollars. You think they're just going to get some schmuck to write this script, or they're going to get some new up and comer, you know, that they want to pull him up from the minor leagues and give him a shot, you know, to mix metaphors at the title. You know what I mean? They put at the very least, let's say they'll take somebody like Tarantino. Let's say he didn't know anything about the occult, and, you know, make a movie like Pulp Fiction, right? He had a co-writer on that movie. And then what they do is they go back in and pepper it with all the stuff that they want to push. And, you know, the only thing that I'll give him credit for in his films that he did kind of do that was a little bit innovative, but now he's just totally placating and, you know, just sloppy writing, just, you know, lazy writing with Django and that other Inglourious Basterds movie. He mixed up the timeline in the movie. But I mean, he did that twice. Big deal. That's all that he does. All of his characters sound like him talking, whether it's you know what I mean? And you know, he's got all kinds of dubious connections and things, and there's you know, just you could do a whole show about him. But what did you have on Denzel, Ed?
Oh my God! Well, his first acting thing was in Raisin in the Sun. That was produced. It was a play. He was like a kid, 12, 13, 14 years old. That was produced by the guy who was the coke dealer, who was behind Death Row Records.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Yeah. And so when you look at stuff and you see him in movies like Training Day, you know, he's playing that character. He's playing real life characters that I think he knew in real life. You know, in real life, man. So,
and they gave me the Oscar for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, and he seems to be in a lot of weird stuff too, like all kind of demonic type movies as well too, you know. But the the thing is, him is he was sponsored by the guy from Death Row Records, who was also dating that girl from with Screech, you know, Screech with the.
Oh yeah, Dustin Diamond.
But that girl in there who did that movie Showgirls.
Oh right, Berkeley.
Yeah, right. And so this like 40-year-old coke dealer, you know, who financed Death Row Records, was dating this little 15, 16-year-old girl in that TV show, and there's pictures of them together.
Wow. See, that's the other thing with it too, is there's a lot of and there's actually a technical name for it, you know, guys that are attracted to teens.
Yeah.
If they're not pedophiles, which is bad enough, you know, they fall into that category. You know, it's just, it's so reprobate. It's so, you know, it's so backwards. And then you throw the drugs into the mix. But it's funny, all the ties that go back to like Death Row Records. The people that you'd never think behind the scenes that know each other, you know, it's really funny. I mean, when you see Jay-Z hanging out with he said it himself how he's hanging out with the Blue Bloods. He produced the movie that was on the other day. I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped. He produced The Great Gatsby, for God's sakes.
Really?
Yeah. What the?
Well, you know, that guy Damon Dash, you know, and his family, they have a huge payday loan company, and they were financing the Michael Jackson debt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Damon Dash, man, owned that debt.
Wow. Yeah. I wonder now, since he's dead, what is going to become of the whole Beatles catalog. I wonder if you'll start hearing the songs, you know, pushed out more in, you know, TV ads and things.
Well, it's restricted on mobile on YouTube. You know, I think they're protecting the nest right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be praying for Ringo. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Ann was just saying in the chat room too that with these prepaid debit cards, with the who's that guy? The one who started the whole thing with the rap, Def Comedy Jams.
Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons, yeah, because Russell Simmons is the one who invented all this stuff. The clothing line and the cologne line and all that stuff like that. He came up with that. They all copied his model.
That's right.
Yeah.
He sold out.
Well, the other side of it is Russell Simmons wasn't even the brain of Death Row. He was not Death Row, Def Jam, the original. You know, the real brains of that is Rick Rubin, who is definitely an occultist. If anything, he's the American version in music of Alan Moore, in my opinion. Like, they're almost mirror images at this point of themselves. Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, everybody, Rick Rubin and Johnny Cash, you know, everything.
Hey, what's it do with Tommy Mottola?
Whitney Houston apparently didn't like him. Michael Jackson came out against him. I don't know much about him.
Okay.
There was a joke made about him on The Sopranos that Tony Soprano's sister was going to try and sell him Christian music, and he rejected them. I remember that right off the top of my head. Other than that, I don't have much on Tommy Mottola, man.
Look up the song Dr. Buzzard's original Savannah Band, where Corey Day, who was a childhood friend of mine, okay, in the Bronx, my best friend Johnny Corey, that was his sister Mary Corey, Corey Day, Dr. Buzzard's original Savannah Band, who later became Kid Creole and the Coconuts. And one of her songs was, Tommy Mottola lives on the road. He lost his lady too long ago. Maybe he'll find her. Maybe he won't. So she was dating Tommy Mottola.
Wait. How long ago was this? Way before he was prominent?
Yeah, he was like a, yeah.
Oh, that's too weird.
This is way back in the 70s. We all lived in the Bronx, in the Schuyler projects, in the Bronx, okay, the Schuyler houses, on Crows Avenue in the Bronx. Mary Corey was Corey Day of Dr. Buzz's original Savannah band, and they later became Kid Creole and the Coconuts, but they had a song, and one, I'll find it for you guys. And she dated Tommy, yeah.
And Kid Creole and the Coconuts, are you kidding me?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, restate your relation to him real quick.
My best friend was Johnny Corey when I was a kid in the Bronx.
Ed played the cowbell in the
I played the cowbell, yeah.
FIFA.
His older sister dated Tommy Mottola at that time. They were boyfriend and girlfriend, and they were both heavy. She was involved in stuff too, and where he would profit from it. And what happened was that they were dating, and she wrote that song about him. And you got to listen to those words, man. It's really fascinating words.
Kid Creole and the Coconuts is in Jean-Michel Basquiat's film Downtown 81, right?
No, I don't even know what that is, no.
Jean-Michel Basquiat was one of Andy Warhol's proteges. The guy with the dreads. They made a movie about his life. It's called Basquiat. It has David Bowie in it. But he himself, during his lifetime, he made a movie called Downtown 81. I think it's available on the Criterion Collection, and there's Kid Creole and the Coconuts are featured in it because it's basically him going from club to club in New York and all these things, but there's a lot of hidden messages in it.
Really?
And I've always thought that he died real young along with Keith Haring. They were both the real spirit of African American art in the 80s, post factory control of the art scene. And David Bowie, not David Bowie, but Andy Warhol was an attempted assassination by Valerie Solanas of the Scum Manifesto feminist fame.
Yeah.
And all that's really crazy because Andy Warhol basically controlled everybody. Debbie Harry was one of his models before she joined Blondie and all these things, and she dated Jim Carroll, the guy that wrote Basketball Diaries.
That's right.
Or Leonardo DiCaprio and all these things. So it's really cool that a dude that was in Jean-Michel Basquiat's film.
Blondie was down there at Yippie headquarters. She was down there at CBGB's and was also down there at Studio 10 across the street.
Yep.
In those days.
They're really good in that film. That night's real thick, funk sound with a little bit of fun, humorous thing. Kid Creole and the Coconuts are really cool. They're featured in a book called Rip It Up and Start Again, The History of Post-Punk. That's how I first heard about him before I saw him in Downtown 81. That's real cool, Ed, man. It really is a small world, dude.
Kid Creole and the Coconuts, they're also in a movie with James Woods that's a really weird movie, too, about Hollywood and celebrities and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I don't know the name. I think I do.
It's about gambling.
Right.
Yeah. That's a really good...
Do you remember this? They were the house band for the Black Panthers, the MC5, and what happened to them?
White Panthers, though.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Yeah.
What did I say? Did I say the Black Panthers?
Yeah, White Panthers. Dana Beale was part of the White Panthers. I know that.
Because they seemed
MC5, with the MC5, there's also the connection that Fred Sonic Smith, the lead guitarist of the MC5, the house band of the White Panthers, his wife is Patti Smith, whose picture on her debut album, which I really like, called Horses. I'm pretty sure everybody knows Horses by Patti Smith, was taken by Robert Mapplethorpe.
Right.
Yep.
They lived together, man. Patti Smith and Mapplethorpe lived together, and Mapplethorpe, I got all kinds of new stuff about Mapplethorpe, okay, in that group I'm with now with the Son of Sam. Mapplethorpe was brokering the Son of Sam snuff tapes.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised, man. He was their generation's version of Terry Richardson.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, it's basically like highbrow naughtiness. There's a different word that I would use if we were chilling at a bar. I'd probably be cussing, but just some bad stuff, you know, like, I mean, art is art, but there's a difference between that, you know? There's a difference between being transgressive and breaking the human contract. You know what I'm saying? There's that, yeah. I know where you're coming from, man. Someday I'd like to hear some of these Mapplethorpe stories because, there's a lot of stuff by Jim Carroll where he wrote about Robert Mapplethorpe and how he was, dating Patti Smith and Debbie Harry at the same time.
Oh, really?
Jim Carroll?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, read all of his stuff, man, besides the basketball diaries. His actual personal diaries about his life during that time will, in my opinion, for something that's available in bookstores, it really opened my mind.
Jim Carroll, yeah, he used to come down. Well, he didn't come down. Yeah, I think he did come down, but I never met him. But he used to be on WBAI back in those days, talking about all that stuff.
Well, you know what's cool or interesting about this is when Columbine happened with the shooting with the trench coats, right?
Yeah.
They changed a part of the basketball diaries where he's bored in the classroom and he imagines himself come in with a gun and shoot it up, but it's not the same. Something, either the gun was different or he wasn't wearing a trench coat.
It was a shotgun in basketball diaries, yeah.
Right, and they interviewed him right after the Columbine happened, and they said, you know, can you believe that it looks like it mimicked the movie? And he was like, well, you know, and he was kind of like shook up, and he said, but that's not, you know, they changed that, and you know, it was a little bit different, and it actually fits more of the Columbine narrative, the movie, that scene where Leonardo DiCaprio comes in and shoots up the class in his trench coat. Yeah.
Well, I met the private investigator that was involved in a civil suit over Columbine, okay, years and years and years ago, okay, and some stuff he told me is that, first of all, the Trenchcoat Mafia was a group in that school that was a long-running gang in that school that people would leave the Trenchcoat Mafia and go work at the school as janitors and groundsmen, and would go work at the police department and the sheriff's department and go to the military. That was how they were funneled out. The Trenchcoat Mafia went on for years and years. It was a well-known group. Mm-hmm. And they went and they would go into the military, they go into the police force, and they worked as groundskeepers on that school, the ex-Trenchcoat Mafia guys. Another thing is that there was another group of kids that showed up in fatigues who showed up with guns in their car, but they were related to the local sheriffs and stuff like that, and they weren't arrested. They were stopped on the way to the school, and they got away with it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff with that Columbine thing. We got to do a show about that, too.
Tons of stuff. That's a rabbit hole. That one's a big, big one. And the doctor who treated him was Dr. Deagle from Genesis that comes on, you know, like sometime around, you know, what's his name? Jones. And he just happened to be the doctor on scene. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were there, and he talks about, you know, how he had to go and brief them on it. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff. There's a connection to the, you know, this alternative, you know, movement with their connections, and then supposedly, you know, there was more people. I mean, there's all kinds of things. With,
there's definitely more people. Yeah.
Yeah, and the parents and all of their connections because of the town, and you know.
Wasn't the supposed third shooter initially identified as the local head of the FBI's son that went to school at that high school?
There was. Well, I don't know about a third shooter, but he might have been in that car that was stopped. That was the sons of the local sheriff. That was showing up. These guys were wearing military fatigues and they had guns in the car.
Yeah, it's been a while. I got to go back and look at it.
Yeah.
But that is something that's worth going back and looking into because, that was a big.
We got to do a show about that as well. Yeah, that's another thing we want to get on the record.
And one that came along around that time was a kid. That was when there's a picture and it shows Klebold and Harris and it says, "We were shooting up schools before it was cool." And it set off like a whole string. And one of them that got forgotten was Kipling Tinkle that shot up to school by himself. And he was this 110-pound, kind of a nerdy kid, and his dad pushed him to play football. And, he had no business being out there. And he ended up killing his father and his mother. And then he said he was hearing the voices in his head when he was questioned by the police. Someone tackled him so he couldn't, kill himself. And, that one just sort of got, kind of brushed over.
The first school shooting was in San Diego. It was a girl, and she said, and they asked her why she did it. She says, "I don't like Mondays." The Boomtown Rats wrote a song about it. Okay, all right, and a video, a music video that is so freaking bizarre. If you watch that thing, forget it. And then later on, Bob Geldof from Boomtown Rats, okay, fine, he goes to charity, he makes $1 billion and stuff like that. But what happened with him was he was in a movie, a documentary with who? The father of the Santa Barbara shooter, that kid, the virgin kid. You know what I'm talking about?
Bigfoot or whatever, BMW guy, whatever his name was. Yeah, man. But also Michael Hutchins, who was engaged to his wife, hung himself. His wife OD'd, and recently Peaches Geldof OD'd.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People are dropping dead all around him. There's the interview of him on the NME. It's like the British version of Rolling Stone or Spin Magazine. They have an award show. It's called the NME Awards. And that idiot Russell Brand was on there, and he said, "Oh, Sir Bobby Gandalf." And he came up there and he said, "Russell Brand is a cunt." And Russell Brand looked like he was shaking in his boots. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy just like dropped some heavy stuff on him, Mm-hmm. Like there. And Bob Geldof was heavily involved with Live Aid as well. Right. And in Pink Floyd's The Wall played the lead, like the guy that becomes the dictator and all that stuff.
Yeah, he played Sid Barrett, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bob Geldof lectures around the world about climate change and all this stuff, He's been living off people hating Mondays since his, besides I hate Mondays, what do people know about him? There's nothing besides that. Like, he's the ultimate, insertion. Yeah. He's waxed, dude. That's my opinion.
And that brings you to Pink Floyd, and just listen to that song, Have a Cigar Now, and you'll totally see the, what that song's really about. And, it's really, really sordid. It's a real sordid mess because it's a shame too. Because all these bands, like I was just saying before, you want to listen to good music and sometimes sort of tune out, and then you just can't get away from it.
Well, Christian, man, it's weird that we're getting into Pink Floyd because we had John Potash. Or I say we, but Ed, man, you had John Potash when we did that after show a month ago, right? You remember?
Oh yeah. I can tell you some stuff that's just recently going on with John Potash. Yeah.
What's that?
But either way, man, going with Pink Floyd, I just wanted to throw this tidbit out about Have a Cigar, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's on Wish You Were Here, which is basically a concept record for Syd Barrett, the original lead singer and rhythm guitarist for Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Syd Barrett gets this reputation that he took too much acid and he had to leave the band or whatever. But if you read Nick Kent, he wrote a book called The Dark Stuff, where he was embedded with Keith Richards, Brian Wilson, Sid Vicious. It's like all the really divisive rock stars. This one journalist was with them all, and he has a piece about Syd Barrett in there and his tenure with Pink Floyd. And basically what happened with Syd Barrett was he had two roommates at the time. They were called Mad Cyril and Mad Alice. No one knows their names, but apparently they would spike his tea every morning with LSD. And he wouldn't know it. He'd come down and take a sip. It wasn't like he was a drug addict.
Right.
He was dosed by his roommates, right? But what I'm wondering is, if they have this information to publish these people's like street names like Mad Cyril, Mad Alice, why aren't they suing these people for like assault on a human being, like all these things, you know, or civil suits or anything? It's just part of the myth making, man. Some people have to be sacrificed.
Right. And Alice Cooper was supposedly letting them, this is when Sid was still in there, said he saw him sitting at the breakfast table, you know, when they were recording in a house that either he owned or something, and he said he was looking at the, you know, the box of cereal like it was a TV. You know, they keep perpetuating this thing that he was so crazy and maybe bad on, you know, the drugs. You know, they really beat that drum, and you know, they just get rid of him. And you know, there's a connection to Alice Cooper, who supposedly is a Christian now. I don't know what his deal is, but you know, there's just another connection. And then Brian Wilson, yeah, it's amazing how, oh my God, there's your Laurel Canyon stuff.
Oh yeah, the whole Beach Boys and that stuff. Forget it. Hey, but let me tell you real quick. But John Potash, because it just happened this past week. I haven't talked about it yet. Is you know, he contacts me and he says, "Hey, I want to send you a copy of my book and a CD with all the copies of the FBI Freedom of Information Act stuff I found, the police reports and stuff." Okay, great. Okay. He sends it to my mailbox. He sends it to me in that little tiny priority mailbox. Now, let me tell you something, guys. I get a year. I get about 1,000 of those boxes come to my mailbox, because that's what's on the packing slip. When someone wants to send me a cell phone to do forensics on it, I say on the packing slip, I say, put it in this box. That's how I like it, because you can stand on that box. Okay, you can put the phone in that little box, tape it up, stand on that box. You don't even need any packaging or anything on that phone, because it's not going to get damaged. That box can take a lot of damage. Okay, so John Potash sends me a book and a CD in that box. I didn't tell him to send me. He knows what he's doing. He does it in the box himself. The box is totally ripped open. It was taped shut. Yeah, it was taped shut, but it was ripped open, man, like roughly, and left open. I don't know if they took anything out of it yet, because I haven't talked to John yet about it yet. But the CD's in there, the book's in there. Maybe he sent me a letter or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he sent me some marijuana. I don't know what he sent me, okay? You know, but the thing is the box was ripped open, man. Okay, the only other time, and I'm telling you, man, I get thousands of these boxes in a year. The only other time I've had a package tampered with was the Sarah Palin case with Shirley Tripp, when her lawyer's office sent me an envelope, one of those big priority mail envelopes, and it was a pinhole hole popped in the thing with it's small enough for a little camera, pinhole camera to stick in there and look around and see what's inside. Only 2 times. That's it. I've had other cases where people have broken their phones before they sent it to me, trying to claim, oh, it got broken in shipping. But we can examine it under the microscope and like the magnifying glass with the lights and stuff, and see the scratches and stuff and see what's tampered with. But so here we go. You know, John Potash, who's has some really, really good information. You know, and nothing was missing out of the package as far as I know, Ann. But here's a guy with really good information who's a real guy, you know, and it's just interesting what packages get tampered with, you know, and what ones don't.
It tells you about the quality of the information, man.
Yeah, right.
Did you get everything intact, or was the content destroyed, Ed?
No, there's a book in there and there's a tape in there. It's half broken open. I'm going to take some pictures of it tomorrow, and I'm going to put it up on Facebook. I just got it the other night. Nothing was missing as far as I know, unless he put a letter in there or something like that I don't know about. But I haven't told him about it. I haven't talked to him about it yet.
I think we've literally alienated all of Hollywood. I don't expect anyone from the music industry or anyone from Hollywood. Let's see how many enemies we can make in one show. Interesting
about Potash is that because he's breaking all this news about the FBI involvement with the Tupac murder, okay, and Tupac's connections to the Black Panther Party, which I had no idea. One of the things that me and Potash were talking about was how Tupac's stepfather was Matula Shakur, who was involved with the Republic of New Africa, that was involved, that it received, he ran an acupuncture clinic to cure drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
John Potash also got his degree in medicine from that acupuncture clinic. Matula Shakur is doing 60 years in prison right now. Okay? Tupac Shakur's stepdad.
Yeah. Yeah, they hunted them all down, like the Jedi Knights.
Matula Shakur. And the reason why this guy, he ran an acupuncture clinic, and I knew who this guy was. I never actually met him, but I saw him, and he used to come down to WBAI radio in New York City back in 1981, right before this big arrest happened. Because what happened was, he was receiving some money from, from that gang of ex-Weather Underground guys who were robbing banks and robbing Brinks trucks in Nyack, New York. But what I also found out too was the guys who actually did the shooting in that robbery were all informants, you know. So, but the other guys all got arrested doing prison. And here's this guy Matula Shakur, who is in prison right now, 60 years, just because he received some donations that happened to come from a bank robbery. There's no evidence that he knew where it came from.
Wow. Well, be careful what you get in the mail.
And as far as I know, it's just a book. 801. What can we do for you, my friend?
Hey, thanks. Could you repeat again? I noticed you mentioned Zeta Talk. What was the other website that had videos and stuff on Nibiru?
It is Nibiru.com.
Just Nibiru.
What? Because he's trying to call the other show, man.
He's trying to call Revolution. Yeah.
Oh, Dan gets mad at me because I don't help him out. Come on.
I don't get mad.
I won't take his call. I said, I refuse to take calls for the rest of the night. That's it.
It says on your Skype, you know?
No, but because the Revolution Radio has a phone number. You know, and they forwarded it to us, and for some reason with our show, there's a problem, and we can't fix it. Okay, let me read some ads real quick, because we're getting to the end of the night. Don't forget, we're sponsored by Audible.com/Opperman Report. You can get a free audio book. You go to Audible.com, Opperman Report, and any kind of book you want, and you get a free audio book. We got here Pacific West Bamboo, 503-839-8126. I cannot stress enough. Amanda and Pacific West Bamboo, how much they support the show, how kind they are to us, and how much she supports our producers and all kinds of stuff. She's a great woman, and how much she is capable of doing for you if you have a construction project that requires any kinds of building materials, because bamboo is very versatile, and you should get a hold of her. EmailRevealer.com. That's my website. EmailRevealer.com. We can trace email addresses back to the sender. If you're being cyberstalked, we can prepare reports for you for court. I can testify for you in court. Cell phone forensics. You need to catch your husband cheating on you. You think he deleted some text messages? Send me the phone. All kinds of stuff. You need to locate somebody. Background reports, asset search reports, criminal record searches, all that kind of stuff we can do for you. Any kind of PI work you can imagine. Trust me, I got everybody lined up. InfinityHomePlans.com. Mike Gray needs a pen pal. Check out Infinity Home Plans and Design Services, your resource for 3D and 2D drafting services. You can find them at InfinityHomePlans.com. My daughter has a show on Teen Truth, CJ Mars Radio at 1 o'clock Saturday. Next we have the New World Mexican Women who have this beautiful book. Please Google New World Mexican Women, and if you saw this book, I can promise you you'd want one, because it really is a beautiful book with all kinds of wonderful stuff, with the letters to their husbands and their men in New York and the North America, and also to their instructions on how to make authentic Mexican jewelry. So we're here tonight. We had a great show with
Dave McGowan.
Dave McGowan, there you go, and William Ramsey. I was going to say John Potash, because he's on my mind. But we had a great show tonight, man, with a couple of my anniversary show. I can't thank enough Ann Francis, who's here all the time. She's such a saint, man, and she puts up with me. You have no idea what a saint this woman is. And Christoph Moses and Keith Davis And my callers, Josh Brookshire and Christian Wallace, who has a show, Christian Wallace has a show Wednesday night on CJMarsRadio.com called Infornation, where he has all kinds of fun stuff going on over there all the time. But we're getting toward the end of the night.
Yo, Ed, I have something to say about the New World Mexican women real quick, man.
Okay, good. Do it.
I work with people from Estado Guerrero, and a couple of days ago, very recently, there was a massacre out on one of the ranches down there, one of the cartels. In that area, people in America don't realize how violent it is. There were 20-plus people massacred in that state from the same, like, little village that the people that I work with are from and their families. And please support his sponsor. They're good people. Like, really, the people from Guerrero are definitely my favorite state, better than, like, Leon or, like, any of that. Oaxaca, way better. Guerrero is, like, really plural. You know, like, they're really good people. So I hope people definitely check them out, man, and pray for them. And please, and pray for Ed's show. Yeah. You know, we're all undergoing. I just wanted to put that out there because it's very serious. You know, it goes on every day. You know, it's something that we need to pray on. Thank you, Ed, for letting me say that, bro.
Yeah, I remember back in the 80s when I was down in Tucson all the time and you know, going back and forth to Mexico for cultural activities. And what happened was the murders at Matamoros, Mexico happened. And there was all kinds of rumors back in those days about these tunnels back and forth and stuff like that. And we definitely got to do a show about Matamoros, the murders there, where I think they found like 40 bodies buried on that little ranch down there in Matamoros, in Mexico. And with the
Luis Garibaldi or something like that, El Diablo.
Yeah.
Like he would abduct tourists and use them to give magical protection with his brujos for the cartels, you know? Like, I don't know, man. Like, people in America feel so safe and secure, and I feel like that's part of the problem. Like, we don't realize how many children in our country go missing every year. And in Mexico, El Paso really is hell's path. Like, there are so many women that work in the factories over there that just go missing. And there's rumors that it's local politicians or the mafia doing, like, little, like, human hunting, like, just to show off money and all this stuff. But, like, it goes on the entire world. These things do exist. So I'm glad you're giving us the space to, like, speak on it, Ed, man. I really do appreciate it.
I know that a lot of these smugglers down there, these rabbits that go back and forth across the border, at least at those days, they think that they would gain invisibility with these rituals of candles and blood and all kind of stuff like that, that they would think that they could get back and forth across the border invisible. But now it just seems to be nowadays that all these cartels are all controlled. You know, I think there was a small window of opportunity when it was kind of like free range. You can like cowboys can go back and forth. But nowadays it all seems to be controlled by these giant cartels that have the sanctions of the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no doubt that at least I believe it's Los Zetas, which is former Mexican military apparatus, basically, you know, that saw the money. It's as soon as basically Pablo Escobar fell that I think that we took over Mexico, you know. I think it's like a secret thing where the United States runs these cartels, and if we get cut off the hand, if we get cut off the air, so mote it be, bro. But I work with people from Mexico, and they don't like it. It's very serious down there, definitely, you know. And these are people that are like my grandparents used to be, very religious, salt of the earth things, and they see the injustice, and they know what's going on. But that's why they come here, you know, but I think the government wants to control both nations. It's like a secret annexation, basically.
Yeah, when Vicente Fox was running Mexico, and he has all kinds of smuggling background behind him, but he was best friends with Bush Sr., you know, so that, and Bush Jr. as well. And in fact, the first foreign president that George Bush visited was Vicente Fox of Mexico. Yeah. So there's all that kind of connections there too. But I can remember back in the 80s when it was sort of like a friendly kind of thing going on down at the Mexican border down there in Nogales and Naco and all these towns there down in the Arizona border. But there was 1 year, okay, where suddenly all these Colombians showed up down there, man. And the whole attitude, the whole mood was totally changed, man. And these guys were real serious business. They were cutthroat guys, and they suddenly controlled all the border traffic, okay? But then somehow again, later on, this is way beyond my time, I don't know what happened then, but these guys disappeared, and these Mexican cartels took over. Again, like you said, who were all former military. Because the deal was at one time where these guys, these Mexican military guys, would stop the traffic going back and forth, and they would beat up the drivers, and then they would sell back the drugs for half the price.
Ed, man, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm getting paranoid. I don't know. This topic, man, is too heavy sometimes, you know, because this is real life for a lot of people every day, you know, and like. I'm not saying let's change the topic. I mean, continue because you're on a roll, but I don't know,
we can change the topic. Listen, listen.
I don't know. Some things, man, you're right about, like, the devil worshiping thing.
Yeah.
Because they do have, God, what's the name of, it's the patron saint, this guy that you see a little tiny bust of with the mustache. It's on Breaking Bad. He's the patron saint of narco traficados. What is his name? He's supposedly this guy that led a young boy through the desert one time who was thirsty and about to die, and it was supposedly the spirit that they turned into the patron saint of drug traffickers.
Yeah.
Jesus Malverde, that's it. Jesus Malverde, that's the name right there. But it's a very big, like, that country is basically like, we need to protect them because they were really the first people before America or Europeans came over there. They really still have that strong bastion of strength and national pride. So we got to respect, like, the people from Mexico, you know, I got a lot of respect for my brothers, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to put that out there to clarify.
Beautiful.
You know.
Yeah, you know.
It's heavy, man. Like, all these things, it's all connected. And really, like, I had my computer, which is not connected to the internet, crash. The phone line dropped, all these things. And you heard William when I asked him, we all know what we're facing against this. Like, it's a burden that we have to take upon us. Like, I feel like the same way my grandfather would have done if he heard some injustice. Like, it's just something that we have to stand up against. You dig what I'm saying? I just wanted to put that out there, too.
No, I follow you.
It's hard, man. I'm glad that we have this creative thing. This is our version of people spreading print flyers and creating zines and going on tours with bands and stuff. They didn't have radio stations back then. They could do the pirate radio station thing, but the FCC would go and roll in with SWAT teams. There was that big case in San Francisco about that guy getting his house busted in back in, like, 1993, I think, because he played, like, a banned Dead Kennedy song. But we're doing this now, man. I hope people are listening and at least getting inspired because each of us, man, we're just human beings. We're not here really trying to, like, sell you a bridge to nowhere. This is reality, what people have to learn, you know?
We know people are listening, okay, because just with the YouTube and the Spreaker alone, you know, we had like 200,000 hits over the past year. So, you know, we know there's people listening, and that doesn't, you know, include any of the live stuff, people listening live. And we see, like, even tonight, the chat room's pretty much full. We're in 3 chat rooms tonight. They're all pretty full. So we know there's people out there listening, but the thing is are we doing anything, You know
what I want to wonder, though, is, Ed, man, are we becoming philosophical targets, basically, for the trolls? Sometimes I feel like you've got to put that out there to bring all that darkness out at you and be like, look, this is what the truth brings. A bunch of people that don't know how to present an argument correctly. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even if it brings out the trolls, the truth brings out trolls. You dig?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the, in Rules for Radicals, one of the ways to, disorient your enemy is to get them, arguing about things that either they're not qualified to talk about, and just get them into, like what trolls do, basically. Come in and just be disruptive and, take focus away from, important topics that, that we are bringing up, like things that, that we've covered tonight. And these people have held a lot of, they've held sway for a long time, since before the internet, since the beginning of it. And a lot of this stuff was, marginalized or considered fringe sort of stuff. And I'm glad that even though terms like the Illuminati and stuff get thrown around and people might not know what it is, or they saw it in a movie or something now, at least more people are getting sort of hip to it and filtering out some of the bad information and maybe, finding their way to this show and starting to piece it together. Because for a long time, they had this bully pulpit where, they could control the whole argument. And like I said, they had this huge sphere of influence. But now, we can kind of, expose them at the very least. And maybe people won't patronize their stuff. They won't, spend their money on it. And, they'll say no more. I don't want to see that with this person, because I know what they're all about. I know what they're connected to. They're waging a war on your mind, body, and soul. And, I, as a kid, grew up in Florida, and I went to, Disney World a lot of times as a kid, but after seeing all the stuff that I did now as I got older with their stuff, I don't think I could go back there in good conscience and, spend the money to bring my kids or family there. It's just not going to happen. And, we can sort of, make those kinds of changes. So hopefully people are listening and they're enjoying and piecing together what they hear.
Yeah. Christian, man, I gotta say this to you and Ed, because I've been wanting to do a show on this idea, because this is at the thrust of everything. Ed's question, what is it doing? Are people really paying attention? It's all about creativity, how we come at it. We can use these radio stations. I use the music I make. There's someone out there who's making a movie. There's someone who's taking a picture that'll bring it all into your mind. Someone could write a poem tomorrow and you could see the world so much different. If there's someone out there who has a doubt, you can use what, Ed, I know you and me, we have our difference about Che Guevara, but he's right. You have to seize the weapon. They're fighting a war with weapons of art against us. Mm-hmm. We have to use all these crafts to bring it out in people. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to do with my music, and it's not even about me. I don't want to be a rock and roll star. I want some 13-year-old out there in the audience to be like, I can do it better. This is my imagination. This is my world, Mm-hmm. It has to be passed down and not something that's processed in these evil images and these stupid, inane, just pre-programmed things, basically, that'll tell you to buy a Coca-Cola or something like that, instead of telling you what the interpersonal relationship is or what music should be, which should, in my opinion, should bring people together and want to make something different. So that's what we're doing with this show, Ed, man. It may be minuscule, but we can't measure the impact right now. It's going to take however long it is. How often do I go back and listen to William Cooper's broadcast, and I put one in a song or something, and he's been dead for so long, but yet he's also in a song that I made, like a little bit of his essence is there, or Mace Russell or something. If it's real information, then people will conglomerate around it and save it. I save all of these broadcasts. Like, I think these are historic broadcasts, really. Like, you've got some good guests, man. And Bobby Seale and everybody that's coming up, like, later, man, this is going to be, like, radio gold. I'm really glad that you let me, Chris, and Will Ramsey and Dave and everybody participate, because this is the new community center, basically. Yeah, we're all punks. We're like the punks of the old days who would get together at some place and, like, meet each other and exchange ideas, you know? It's cool that we can do it on the computer or the phone or on the radio.
And people should call it the Aftershow. You know, it's open. Unfortunately, it's also known as the Granada Forum for some reason.
But the thing is, man, see, we can get all that set up, and that's no big deal. But listen, I got no problem. My hope for this show was that we create an archive on YouTube and recorded archives and I didn't know any, but they were going to be on 15 stations. I had no idea all this stuff was going to happen. So I'm so pleased with how things are going. You can't imagine. And what I know that we could do, if we just had a little bit of cash, what we could do here, we could reach tons of people. And we have this little niche carved out that even though I'm not worried that we're exposing information that will be shut down, we can still fly under the radar for a really good time here, you know, and get some really good information, reach a lot of people, man, because we're reaching a lot of people now, man. I could tell from the email and the traffic to the blog. I can monitor all that stuff. So I'm very happy with the way things are going.
Also, Ed, I don't know if this is a weird question, but the when it comes to the like you were talking about the pinhole cameras and things.
Yeah.
What is the not the state of the art, but what are the sort of toys du jour that these people are doing that they're using? Like I think there was a girl that wanted to get back at her boyfriend, so she bought him a computer, and it traced different sites he was surfing and stuff, and like that sort of stuff. I know they have spy shops that are, you can get a lot of this stuff over the counter, and it just seems like it's so ubiquitous now with stuff that a few years back was more in the realm of the private detectives and things. I was just wondering what sort of stuff has become more mainstream that like spy stuff that.
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. You can either email someone a link and they click on it, or you can get access to the computer and you can email them and then hit some manipulate some buttons on the keyboard that will create key loggers on the computer. You can also, there's little stuff like they look a little USB thumb drive, that you can just pop it in the back. That'll record everything that's going on the computer. There's all kinds of stuff now that'll record every keystroke on the computer.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah, not just the websites you're visiting, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, man. You can do. Forget it. And
do you think it's being a little paranoid, or do you think there's some legitimate stuff? I mean, it's a weird question, but I guess it depends on the relationship or the situation.
Okay, I was talking about this on Rick and Annie yesterday. I think it was yesterday. That you got to remember, I was right there in the thick of it, when the FBI was, investigating Castellano and all these big the pizza connection, and I saw the type. I was the guy in my office was doing all the counter surveillance, finding the bug sweeps and stuff. So I know what the FBI is capable of doing, what their capabilities are, and the manpower associated with that kind of full-time surveillance. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody nowadays, they're talking about the NSA. Oh, the NSA this, the NSA that. If anybody is promoting all this stuff from the NSA, it's the FBI. Because the FBI doesn't want you to know that they're the ones that actually have field agents that are doing all the troublemaking and all the problems and all the stuff like that we all know from COINTELPRO and all this kind of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. NSA, all they do is record and monitor. They record and monitor everything they have for years and years and years since the 70s. There's nothing new about that, okay? And all this business about putting your phone in the refrigerator and the microwave and stuff like that, and it's all old news. NSA, they record, they monitor everything, okay? But they have no field agents. They have no field agents when they're listening to our show. That when you hear people on the radio saying, "Oh, our Skype is having trouble," it's the NSA. It's not the NSA. The NSA doesn't have any field agents. And I can tell you, I know this for a fact, because when you go to PI conventions, there's no one there who's an ex-NSA agent. You got ex-IRS, you got ex-FBI, ex-everything, you know. And there's no one there who says, "Well, I was in the NSA," because all they're doing is just technicians, you know. Whatever they're doing something else. They're not field guys, you know. It's FBI and all this other stuff. So, that's one thing that I think people really need to get through their heads. That this whole NSA thing is just, it's this new kind of diversion.
Yeah, it was always COINTELPRO.
Yeah, which was FBI.
Right, that's what I mean.
Which was Ted Gunderson, who was going after the Black Panthers.
Admittedly, that he came back out and said he had written love notes to get them infighting.
And then you wonder these new guys who come along that say, "Hey, you know, I did this, I did that, you know, now I'm on your side, you know."
Right. Right. And you know it's become more sophisticated.
Who is Ed Szymanski? I'm getting a message here.
He used to have a Arctic Beacon was his radio show. I think it might still be on.
Okay, sure. Let's come on. If he knows this kind of stuff, sure.
He used to have the Vatican assassin guy up.
Yeah.
He had, trying to think of some of his, I'm not sure that was a regular guest of his, but trying to think of some of the people that he had on, because he says to fill in some of the questions on Rothstein. Yeah, he had Jim Rothstein on, a few times.
Yeah, we should have Rothstein back too, man. He has so much information. It's hard to really package him, you know?
Yeah.
You know, what I'm trying to do is, you know, I'm picking topics, you know, like Jeffrey McDonald, you know, and then do a show around it, you know, bring in guests. It's kind of, you know, like I tell you something else too. It's like my first idea to do this show was the archive stuff, the information that I have. But there's certain things I can't get out because I don't have the right guest to bring it out. You know, there's things I don't want to say myself. I want to have a guest say it for me, you know, and it's just kind of like a slipping little stuff. But the other problem too is that I'm being censored. I censor myself, you know. We're in a situation right now where I censor myself and I'm being censored, you know, and I'm not comfortable with that either. So we have to figure out another way around all this too, and how we're going to go further.
Ed, man, I understand where you're coming from, but who's your guest on the Jeffrey McDonald thing, man? I wasn't joking around on Facebook when I said the North Carolina military establishment. I'm basically from that. It's some heavy stuff around Fort Bragg, man.
Oh, like, yeah, that's where all the heroin was coming in the body bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not by accident. You know? And so it's going to be Jeffrey McDonald's wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. She maintains his innocence, right?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? The more I hear about it, you know, I got to tell you, it sounds, man, like there's some real stuff there. The only thing, it sounds like it's real, and it makes sense if it was this Aquino devil cult there that was going in and doing this stuff like that, and then who handles the witnesses? Gunderson, you know? And and then, you know, the witnesses, they don't testify correctly and they don't do their stuff. Yeah, it all makes sense.
I just ask myself, and gosh, man, I mean, I don't want to say anything, because, I love your show, man. I don't know. He was let off by the military, and then his stepdad heard what he was saying, and then he was re-indicted in Raleigh. So he was out there on Dick Cavett's show, like, laughing it up, basically. So there's that. Maybe, I don't know, man. I'm not going to, like, say the MC word, mind, whatever. So I'll wait till the show comes out, man. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, who Dick Cavett was best friends with, right? And roommates?
Who?
Woody Allen.
That's
They were roommates, man, for a long time.
It's not even that, man. I just say this from my gut, like, knowing North Carolina, because I've lived near three of the biggest, I've lived near a Marine base. My dad and my mom met at the Army base at Fort Bragg. I dated a girl from there. I know Fayetteville like the back of my hand. Next to Havelock at Cherry Point and all these things. There's some, weird dealings in all of these towns. It's like where these military bases pop up. If you look at, Fort Hood or Presidio and all these things, it's like there's this weird blackness that spreads into the surrounding areas, and there's all sorts of mysterious crimes and all these things. I've seen, some weird sights, and I've heard some devious stories myself, so when it comes up, man, we'll speak about it some more. You dig what I'm saying?
I do dig what you're saying, I'm not saying that I've investigated this case and I'm working for the defense and I know what I'm just a radio host. Let's hear what happens. I want to do a show about the topic. I'll listen to what this woman says, and if she says something that sounds funky to me, I'm gonna say, "Hey, man, it sounds funky. What's going on?" So that's what that. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm like a troll like the people for the West Memphis Three. I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, Ed, like you messed up," like some things like that. I'm just. Yeah. I say this as a person from North Carolina. Like you're from New York, you got the Son of Sam and Christian's from Florida. He's got there's a lot of bad stuff with Adam Walsh and Otis Toole and all these things down there. Yep. Certain places have their it's like a weird occult thing, I think, where you have these cases that make such a mark on history that it infects the population. I think the Manson case is one of the bigger ones. Some of them say might be number 2. Zodiac, I think, is definitely up there. Atlanta child killings is somewhere down the list, but I think a lot of these things, knowing what I know about the occult rites, they're done to make a rip in space-time and their vision of it to infect the population, and make the world a more chaotic place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with that totally. And that also, too, the O.J. Simpson trial was that same kind of thing, too, was to make the world a more chaotic place. And there's a movie, too, with Dan Aykroyd and that other guy, NWO guy, the Dragnet, where the whole theme of the movie is about how there's this group called Chaos or whatever. And even Get Smart, it was the enemy was chaos.
Right, chaos control. Yeah. That's the whole thing, is to order out of the chaos. That's their motto.
Yeah. And who was involved in all that? Buck Henry and
Mm-hmm.
By the way, too, Buck Henry was in with that whole group too. With the what's his name? Woody Allen. Woody Allen wrote for Candid Camera with Joan Rivers.
He did?
Oh yeah. It's all that same group, man.
You know who else is connected with him? I just saw the other day was that guy, that little guy in The Princess Bride. He plays the real smart guy. He keeps saying inconceivable. If you look up his Wallace Shawn is his name.
Oh yeah.
His past, that guy is super educated, really smart, and he was in that movie with Woody Allen. What's it called? Annie Hall. He was.
Was that My Dinner with Andre too?
Yeah. he brought him in because he's a really smart, big time writer and everything. And he was teaching like Latin, English, all these things. He went to, I think, Oxford.
You're right.
Yeah, and he left to go pursue acting with Woody Allen and everything. He gave up this, this whole big, he's this erudite, matriculated up, through getting his different degrees and things, and then he just leaves and goes to pop up here and there in some films, and then wrote a bunch of, but he's yoked up with Woody Allen, and then it was Mia Farrow, right? And then you got all of her connections that
Frank Sinatra.
Right, and then that's when he started. She was the first one that started adopting.
Well, look at that guy too, Ben Stein. You
right.
know,
Ben Stein, yeah.
Another guy. He was Nixon's.
The Dirty Tricks girl.
Yeah, but he was Nixon's Fed guy. You know.
Yeah.
Multi-billionaire, this guy. Multi-billionaire family. And he's doing Ferris Bueller and TV commercials and stuff like that. This guy's a real guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, it's 9:30. And what happens is, even after the after show and the after show, we still have a gossip session that we do after the show is over. So it's not like we're going to just hang up and we're going to be done for the night. We got another half hour to go at least. So
I think we cover a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think this was a good anniversary show. Great guests, man, great callers, and great, Hijacker called in, and Mike Gray called in, and a guy called in for Granada, whatever show that was. Wrong numbers, man. We had some wrong numbers tonight. Yeah, that's good. So
actually, I think this was one of the better shows that we've done together, man. Ed, thank you again for letting me call in, man. I really appreciate it, dude.
No, you're always appreciated. And you know what? Your call did not tick down the, however you're calling in, didn't cost us any money. So that's good. You can call in this way anytime you want. Okay? Because, some people when you call in, it costs money. And, then we got the Spreaker bill and all this stuff like that. This thing's cost me a fortune, Yeah, I know, man. I know. You know what you guys can do to help support the show is when you go to the Opperman Report blog, click on the ads, the Google ads on there. I get paid from that too. So, and the YouTube ads, all that stuff like that. Try and keep that going too to keep us afloat here. Cause we're doing the best we can with, sponsors and donations and support and stuff like that. But it's tough.
Yeah, man, there's something that we'll talk about off air. I was telling you about the Broken Machine films. This guy, does some, really, good underground music. And, I know some, people that might be interested,
Let's do it.
I got your bag. We'll talk about this,
All right, so guys, thanks for coming. Everybody stay on the line. We'll have a little after show chat. But we're sponsored by Audible.com, /Opperman Report. You get a free audio book. Thanks to my guest tonight, Dave McGowan, who's a real brilliant guy, and also William Ramsey. Really cutting edge guys, man, that are out there. And I've really come a long way in the past year as well. A lot of exposure and a lot of really good stuff with those guys. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and we love you. We really do, man. And thank you, Ann and Christoph and Keith Davis, man, and Josh Brookshire and Christian Wallace and Mike Gray and Amanda, from Pacific West Bamboo. All you guys, man, I can't thank you enough. It's been 1 year. It's been a long year. It's been one of the toughest years of my life. I'm going through the fight of my life right now. You have no idea what I'm doing. But we have some light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll talk about it after the show. Kicking ass and taking names, okay? So good night. Thank you all from the Opperman Report. Cindy, let me know when you want to cut us off here. And Cindy, you know what you can play for us, man? Some Guthrie, okay? Some I want to know. Oh, it show's over? You're playing it? Oh, okay. Good night. We love you guys.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.